Topic number 2. What's happening over there?
Oh, I just was looking at the time. See how long that topic was.
It was 22 minutes.
It's good to know.
I'll keep you updated as we go
Thank you.
forward.
It's very important.
Topic number 2 is upon us, but I have something to say. This topic is not. It's not even a sponsor thing. This topic is shout-outed. This topic is supported on Patreon by the one and only Mike Biffle and his game Volume. Now, what's exciting about this, Colin, and why it's the second topic? Do you know why? Think it through.
Why would Volume be
Sponsoring the second topic? Of course, they went to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Kind of. No, not the topic. They went to patreon.com/kindoffunny.
So you're being literal about why.
Kind of Funny Games.
All right.
Sponsored us for a month of shoutouts because they're awesome.
So that's what you're asking. Because what I thought you were asking was, why are you putting the sponsorship before this topic?
I am. But you're thinking about it in the wrong way.
Okay, I see.
The reason this is on topic 2, because that means that this topic will be posting on Tuesday on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, which is the 18th, which is the release date of Volume
Very
the game.
exciting.
This segment is sponsored by Volume, a stealth game out now for PlayStation 4, PS Vita, PC, and Mac. From the creator of Thomas Was Alone, Volume combines a core story starring Andy Serkis and Danny Wallace with an editor that lets you make and play content as part of a growing community of stealth game fans. For more information, follow @VolumeGame on Twitter. And of course, go get it right now. We've seen this game before.
We sure have.
I'm very excited for it.
I'm excited about it too because it reminds me of. I mean, I always kind of like the VR missions in Metal Gear in the sense that like I was awful at them, but I like the idea of just strategically getting through from point A to point B, and that's what this game is. I mean, it's just those clever VR missions and kind of collecting things as you go and stuff like that. I think it's cool, and I think Mr. Bithel's an extremely talented, extremely friendly kind of guy.
Yeah, he's a great dude. Yeah. Big supporter, kind of funny.
Happy to support him as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
very happy to support him.
Topic number 2, Colin, is something it came up to me, I think you always have this, right? Where you can't remember what was said on what show.
Yeah, I don't remember what I said.
I think this popped up at RTX. It might have been Gamescast last week. And it sounds like something we would have done before, but according to the Kind of Funny forums over at kindoffunny.com/forums, we haven't, because I did some research on this.
Okay.
But the topic is gaming omissions, the things we didn't play but should have.
Okay.
Now, this stems from, of course, you saw me lugging around my 3DS.
I don't know why.
You saw me tweet that I was playing Super Mario Brothers 3.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Tim asked me about this, I believe, during the RTX panel, but it might have been Gamescast last week. And both of you flabbergasted to find out I've never played Super Mario Brothers 3. And when I say played, I mean sat down, played start to finish. I'm going world to world playing it. Sure, I've popped in at somebody's house, I'm sure, and played it. I've seen it a bunch of times. I've watched top 100 videos where it pops up. But I've never sat down, owned a copy of Super Mario 3 and played it. I didn't have an NES. I was a Sega kid. My first Mario game was the one on Game Boy. I can never remember.
Super Mario Land?
Yeah, that's the one. So, I mean, I've always been behind in Mario games, but obviously I've played Mario 1. I've played Mario 2. That was one a lot of times you played at your friend's house. That was a big one.
Sure.
And then 3, for some reason, never got played in that ecosystem.
Sure.
So here I am going through it now because I don't like having that hole in my heart. That hole in my acumen, if you will.
What do you think of it?
It's hard. Like, that's the weird thing I wasn't expecting. And I don't know if it's just getting used to because the DS is
you're
so...
playing it on the DS.
The DS is so strange to hold for me, you know what I mean? But it's like, I am getting my ass handed to me, and I'm only like World 2.
Really?
Because I'm not really putting in a lot of work to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I was going to play it on the plane instead I watched movies, so that didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm a little disconcerted that you find it that hard in World 2.
But it's funny because then Nick, while we're at RTX, took my DS and put on Super Mario 3D Land on DS, right? And I have like 42 lives, and I'm a million... And it's like, I don't know why... That obviously, my Mario story, I talk about the Game Boy one, right? And sure, I played that and I enjoyed it and I remember having fun. But the one I fell in love with, where I became a Mario fan, was Super Mario World.
Sure.
And that was the one I knew inside, outside, da-da-da. And it felt so perfect.
It's very inspired by Mario 3.
And that's the thing. Something about Mario 3 doesn't feel that way. So it's almost like learning again to be Mario, if that makes sense.
Sure. I mean, I think that Mario 3 was... at the time, really, really, really special.
Yeah.
And still is a special game. But it doesn't hold a torch, or a candle, I should say, to Mario World at all. But one begat the other. Like,
sure.
Absolutely. I feel like Mario 3 is definitely harder than Mario World. I still think probably the original Mario and Mario, like real Mario 2, like Lost Levels, are probably still the hardest Mario games.
Sure.
If you play them like without cheating. based on just a lot of like hit detection shit, and like you only really have one hit. Like, so if you have a fire flower, like you don't just become Big Mario, you become Little Mario. I mean, there's a lot of like, little design choices in the original Mario that made it very difficult. But Mario 3 is a seminal NES game.
Sure.
And I was surprised you played it, not because I knew you were a Sega kid, but my assumption with games like that, like tentpole kind of games, and that's maybe the biggest game of all on NES in terms of sales.
Yeah.
Except for Tetris. Well, no, Tetris on NES actually didn't sell. Game Boy really sold.
Game Boy was the one.
Although Tengen Tetris, and Nintendo Tetris sold respectably on NES. But my assumption was that everyone had played that game.
Sure.
Now, I don't think the game's hard enough where you should be struggling on World 2, which indicates to me that... Because the game doesn't really ramp up until like World 5, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think that it's probably something to do with you playing on DS. I'd be interested if you'd play it on the NES original or just on Wii U.
Yeah.
With a sideways Wiimote.
Sure.
See how you feel about it then. I think that game's really, really fucking fun. But yeah, Super Mario World.
I'm doing wrong. I'm having fun with it, and I'm not frustrated and like put it down. I hate this game. I mean, I've put an afternoon at the bar in with it. You know what I mean? And that was the thing of like you get towards the end there, and I was just like, and then I'm out of lives and I have to restart and go through. And I'm like, I mean, for me, honestly, it's still learning a lot of like I put out a tweet that people were like, "What are you talking about?" Trying to learn the logic of chain chomps. Because I'm like, he's coming right at me. So if I just jump over and then I do it and he would jump, I wasn't even there. Why are you going at that? You know, I'm like, I have to sit back and be like, what the fuck is this guy up to?
Right.
What's his game? Where's he going? You know what I mean? Like that's just stuff you take for granted.
You got to wait for the execute and then you jump over him.
Yeah, but I did that, and I was again. This isn't getting hung up on chain chops. I'm just saying that they weren't shooting in the initial directions I thought they'd be shooting.
Sure.
Weird.
Yeah,
the chain chomps I know from Mario 64, or even Mario World. I remember being like, these guys are chumps, no big deal.
You gotta just have a parabola over them, basically.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I mean, the games for me. I mean, when I really think about
and these fucking these guys that hide, the desert blocks that hide, and then they come at you. These motherfuckers.
Nah, they're not a big deal.
They're not, but you got to learn where they are and what they. I'm like,
that's all memorization.
I walk up to them. I'm like, are you going to be a real block? Oh, you're a fucking jumping bean too.
That's a memorization thing for sure.
Yeah.
Much like Mega Man or something like that. You just remember after a while. You just remember. I mean, how many times have we all? Many of us gone through Mario 3.
Yeah.
Until you just remember it. When I think about games that I haven't played, I feel like they're all basically on PC because I feel like I have a pretty solid and well-rounded experience on console since the 2600 all the way through. Even there's a lot of shit on Master System I have not played. Obviously,
sure.
Genesis. I mean, I feel like I've played most of the games that matter on Genesis, and
sure.
I don't. Again, I mean, I've said it many times. I don't feel like that list is huge.
Yeah.
Saturn's a pretty huge blind spot for me, just because I only I knew people like my brother's roommate had it, and we played games on it. But I'm sure there's games on there I missed. But I think that by the time I could, I had basically I've had every console since the Dreamcast, every one of them. So with the exception of, or access to them, all of them. So of any, the mainstream ones. I mean,
yeah.
But on PC, I mean, my glaring weak spot on PC is almost everything. But specifically, I'm thinking about like the 1980 to 1995 era or so. Okay. So I feel like there's a lot of gaming genetic stuff, like really important stuff on PC that I know and have read extensively about, but I've not played. The games that come to mind are like Ultima, like all of the Ultima games, which were heavily inspired by D&D, which heavily inspired Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. So I mean, there's a blind spot there. A lot of adventure games, because I really don't find adventure games fun at all, and by adventure games I don't mean like Gone Home so much as I mean, because I do like Gone Home as much as I mean like just like
full throttle and
it's like Jesus Christ, like I just
Day
don't
of the Tentacle,
it's just like no thanks, like I don't understand the excitement about these games. God bless you if you like them.
We love Tim Schafer, we love his work, good for him.
Oh no, definitely.
You play these things, I'm just like, I don't even know, like this isn't fun.
Like
Grim Fandango, even the remake, I was like, ugh.
I don't get it. I don't get it. So that I was always very turned off by those games. Now I played like the Maniac Mansion like fucking port on NES. That's not really the real one.
Sure.
Stuff like that. But there's a pretty huge gap that I'd like to go back and fill at some point for some of those early WRPGs and adventure games. I think that's what sticks out to me the most. I mean, if we're talking about games that I fucked around with, I mean, games that I've not really beaten all the way through, but that I'm familiar with or I've fucked around with in some capacity. Probably Half-Life would probably be like that. That whole series is probably a huge gap for me.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's just like it's on PC. Like I
didn't enjoy it. Like I've tried so hard with Half-Life, and like Damon was like, I remember because they were, people beating this drum when Orange Box came out, and I was playing on 360, and they were like, oh, I don't like it. Well, at least play Half-Life 2. It's better than Half-Life 1. I'm playing Half-Life. I'm like, this just sucks. I don't enjoy how this feels.
Sure.
Everybody's like, the story is so good. I'm like, yeah, but the gameplay sucks. Sorry. Like it isn't fun to play. Like I'm driving these fucking goddamn Jeeps around or whatever, these like go-karts. I mean, I passed some guy, I gotta turn around and go fight him. I got goddamn guys on top of roofs shooting at me, and I got the fucking head crab coming. Like, right.
Yeah, I think I just never had the fortitude to really, this was before the Orange Box, like really fuck with it for very long. I had PC gamer friends and stuff. I mean, and you're introduced to these games, you see them and you fuck with them a little bit, and I'm just like, and by the time, when Orange Box came out, which I think was in 2007, right when I had really first started at IGN, I was there maybe 6 months when Orange Box came out. The PS3 port was awful. The Xbox 360 port was what it was, but I was still like very much in Wii mode at that point. So by the time like I got back around to really like acknowledging the fact that the Wii sucked, it was just too late. I was like, it's just like, well, there's other things I want to play, and I just never cared enough to go back.
Now here's a question related to what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. You're talking about other things that come around, so on and so forth. Are we to the point, or are we at the precipice of the point, you think, where we're talking about, I can't believe these omissions in our library and da-da. Is that ever going to go away? I feel like there's so many games now. Every Tuesday, every day on Steam, every indie, and I know you're going to scoff it off, but every mobile game that, like, the games that you try to play, Monument Valley and all these things that are doing amazing things that I haven't played and I have no intention of playing, and I don't think about it. Like I think about Mario 3, like I thought about Super Metroid, like I thought about, oh shit, these are games that people look back and define as their defining like video game moment, and I have no experience with them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hindsight thing. I think a lot of these games that even since the time we worked at IGN in the very beginning, I just don't think a lot of these games are old enough for me to care yet.
Sure.
It's not to say that they're not great. I mean, there are great games that are must plays in those, but I'm not like, I don't have enough distance between them to be like, what are the games that I really like fucking missed?
Yeah.
As opposed to games that just passed us by, which I think are two different things. To your point about mobile gaming and stuff like that, listen, like, look, that's not a real gaming platform to me. And
to you, though.
No, but I want to just explain. I just want to explain where I'm coming from with this. That mobile gaming has been destructive to the kinds of games that we like. The volume of them, the way people play those games, the fucking way they're marketed, the way that they nickel and dime people or whatever. So if you like those kinds of games, that's more power to you. That's fantastic. But like that's not even a platform that I acknowledge as something that like is so like PC and console and handheld is it. There's like not a fourth pillar. There's not a fourth leg, And so I'm not saying that as like, if you like those games, more power to you, but
this is your opinion.
Exactly. But what I'm trying to say is like, I'm overwhelmed enough with the games I miss without having to think about a platform that I feel like has been largely destructive anyway. And
I disagree. I don't think it's been destructive.
That I don't really destroy. How hasn't it been?
I mean, you're saying microtransactions are destructive?
Yeah, just like everything about. I don't want to say everything about because I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with the whole fucking breadth of catalog of mobile games. But everything about what I've seen about them has been trying to be driven into the way we play and the way we market and the way we monetize core games. And I think that's a huge fucking problem. I don't think there's a goddamn thing that console gaming can learn from playing a game on iOS at all. I think it goes the other way. And so yeah, I stand by that 100%. When I want to just pay you $15 for a game, but I can't because you have to have these microtransactions. It didn't start on console.
Sure, but it hasn't really worked on console either.
No, but here it is.
Well, sure, but I mean, those are just shitty products I wouldn't want to play anyway. You know what I mean? If that's going to take down a shitty console game, then I didn't want to play it to begin with. If you're going to be nickel and diming going out there,
sure.
I mean, the benefit of mobile gaming, I think, is, and granted, they kind of came up together, but stick with me, is the fact that it opened up the door for indies. It was the first place where it was for $99 you're a game developer and go try something and go do something and get your feet wet and learn. I mean, look at like Mitchell Morgan. Look at Learn Code. How are you going to make an app? How are you going to do this? And then you can start wrapping your head around making a video game, which I think you saw Sony and Microsoft respond to in terms of how to get their platform into people's hands and lower the development costs and get people kits and do these different things. Yeah. Now, granted, Steam was there. Totally the Greenlight program. Indie games were happening there as well. But I think part of the groundswell is mobile.
I guess. I mean, there's certainly a point to be made there, but I do think that mobile gaming is a race to the bottom. It's a question of volume. It's a question of iteration. It's a question of copying. It's a question of like all these kinds of things. There's like for all of the games that are on mobile that seem like there's love put into them, there's many more that aren't. There's no quality control. There's just no respect for the gamer.
But I think
and I'm sorry, like I stand by that. Like I don't. The revolution that we thought was happening in 2008, 2009, 2010, where it was like that was like what was going to be the future, has not panned out because that doesn't resonate with people that actually care about games. That's like the bottom line to me. And I was so happy, me too.
Don't get me wrong. I didn't want that shit to become the future.
Because when I remember saying on Podcast Beyond many years ago, I was like, if that is the future and that's the way we're playing games, I no longer play video games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
if there's a touch screen and it's
it's just all gimmicky and nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, it's not a judgment on those games per se, or the people that make those games per se, or the people that play those games per se. It's just to say, like, I take gaming seriously, and that platform doesn't. And so, like that, and that's, I mean, like
my one problem with the argument is I feel like it's baby out with the bathwater kind of thing. Is that there's a ton of shit in there, but isn't that the same thing of like looking back? And granted, don't get me wrong, Atari took it on the chin and all these other things, but when they were making games like E.T. and there were this stuff, there were good games in there too, but there was a wealth of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to take away and say that the platform is destructive and totally fucked up, and it's all on that when it's really a set of bad apples ruining it for the bunch.
Yeah, but it's like I don't disagree. That's a decent analogy, except for the fact that I think that the diamonds in the rough are the exception. That's not even. I don't even think that's a thought. I think by fucking numerals, you know what I mean? If we're looking at the numbers and the lists and the quantity of games put out there and the numbers that are swords and sorcery or whatever. No, that's not right. Damn it, whatever. One of the amazing fucking games Marty always likes that I never play. But you know what I mean? Like the ones that are new experiences doing something. Republic will say, all right, you know what I mean? Like, yes, there are games that are thought out and done this, and that's how they're trying to be. But then, there are overwhelming loads of shit and clones and fucks. But Republic is a game with console sensibilities and will be coming to those platforms.
Yeah, well, finally, I think, because they realized they needed to make more money.
Yeah, because you realize that you put your game out. That's the thing, is that there's a deficit of trust on these platforms, and reasonably so. Like, think about the golden era of gaming to me is always going to be the NES era, and I don't think that's a huge coincidence. It's not to say there was really bad games on NES, but Nintendo was smart enough to learn from Atari and be like, you can only publish 5 games a year. That's it.
Yeah.
So you better figure out which games you want to publish, and that created shell companies, but it also created a really vibrant ecosystem of great games.
You had to believe in your product.
Exactly. And when platform holders don't believe that there needs to be any sort of spigot where they can shut things on and off and be like, well, this game sucks, why would we ever want to have it on? Apple and Google don't care. They don't care. Yeah. And as long as they don't care, I don't care. And the one thing that really bothers me about mobile gaming specifically is like how people read into numbers about mobile gaming. Like, everyone plays games now. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, not all games are created equal, and not all gaming is created equal. It's not, again, a judgment if that's how you want to spend your time. It's just to say, like, we had all this anecdotal nonsense about how many gamers are out there now, and they're playing games on Facebook, and they're playing, Zynga's making these games, and like, look at them now. Yeah. Like, some of these companies don't even exist anymore. The iOS and Android seem to exist on the same fucking 5 or 10 games over and over again, just people dumping money into these games. Meanwhile, other people just release their games on these platforms and they don't matter. So I have no idea how the fuck we even got on this train of thought. But it's
gaming emissions. Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, no, I mean, what I originally said was that I don't count this as a platform where there are omissions, because there are games that I love.
But I'm saying
on iOS, like Plants vs Zombies.
Sure.
But that came out
game dev story.
Yeah, like whatever the games are, but I mean, like, come on, guys. Like, until these platforms start taking their games more seriously, I have no interest in taking their games seriously. Because it's not even necessarily about the lack of tactile control, which is a huge problem too. But it's more a lack of like just respect for the consumer. Sell me my game. Make a game that you believe in, that's good. Stop racing to the bottom, making everything free and fucking nickel and diming people. Core gamers don't respect that. I am a core gamer and I don't respect it. And I don't respect the platforms that those games come from. So it's just...
See, I'm with you on not respecting it, but I don't respect the developers, not the platform. The platform is just a fucking machine to me, whereas it's the developers behind it that are doing their different things.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, and who knows like what the future might hold. Do you think that your favorite game of all time in 10 years will be on that?
No.
Do you think it ever could be? Because I don't. I just don't think it's possible. Like I just don't think that it's.
I think it's possible. I think when I mean, like when we're talking about processing power and all this other shit that'll come in VR and how, I mean, like there's a million unknowns and who knows what's around the next corner in terms of technology. But I think it is. I don't want to look at this platform and think of it in the way I still think old people look at video games and they think NES. I don't want to look down the line now and be old and think about, oh, it's a mobile game, and think about fucking some touch game match 3 puzzle garbage. I don't know what it's going to become. Just like I don't think people who wrote off video games as Mario don't know what they became.
Sure, but would you, and again, just hypothetically, consoles disappeared, Vita is obviously done. I mean, these handhelds disappear.
Yeah.
Do you think that you would play games anymore?
I mean, I would play far fewer games. And I mean, that would be the thing of like, now that, but like what you're talking about is like, I think it's very simple to think of it like a light switch. All of a sudden, everything we love's gone, and this is what exists, and everything's fucked, because it would be, right? Like we wouldn't. Where would you go for that? But like in reality, if that was what started to verge and move off, then you'd have sites like IGN be actually telling you what's good. And there'd be gatekeepers that rise up. You know what I mean? Similar to what happened in the way of like fanzines that then became EGM, and fan sites that then became IG. You know what I mean? Like there'd be a new class that rises up with it to be the gatekeepers and keep these people honest. Whereas right now, nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem. And I also think there's just a limited capability of these machines. It's not even about processing power. It is about control and input. You can't, I think they released Mega Man 2 on iPhone. Like, that's a joke. You know what I mean? Like I'm sorry, that's a joke. You can't. There's certain games that you can't play. Like it's fine playing Final Fantasy 6 or Dragon Quest. It's just turn-based and whatever you move around on the screen. I totally support that. But like, there's also just a limited array of genres that can be on there, and no one's figured it out in the sense of like a massive, fucking crazy commercial success. And I just the reason I bring this up is because the way people were talking about mobile gaming a few years ago was a cataclysmic.
It was going to be the next thing. It was going to put everything out, and that was going to be it.
It was supposed to be cataclysmic, and it was supposed to be cataclysmic for our core gaming sensibilities. And like I said, that was when I was like, fuck this. Like my days are numbered in this industry because I'm not, like I'm just not accepting.
You're done with it. Yeah.
And we've seen the exact opposite. These consoles are selling, well, not Wii U, but PS4 and Xbox One are selling mediocrely.
Yeah.
The games are still bold and ambitious. I also think PC obviously is clearly the biggest viable platform for new games and new ideas. And PC might be the most exciting because there's just a bunch of different ways to have input, whether it's your keyboard, whether it's your mouse, whether it could be voice or video, it could be VR, it could be whatever it is. I'm not saying anyone's taking advantage of voice or video, but I'm saying there's all sorts of shit you can do on PC and conceivably on consoles.
We've talked about this before, that I come out here and I'm all bullish on consoles and I fucking talk shit about PCs and I'm clearly joking and playing it up. PC is the perfect platform. It is. If consoles weren't where they are right now, if this console generation we're in right now, PS4 and Xbox One weren't such a runaway success, Valve, in my opinion, wouldn't have fucked up Steam Machine. They could have easily taken over. It would have been done. Because, like, we just got our volume codes, right? But we only got them for PC. They're working on PlayStation. And it's like, oh, man, I really wanted to play this, and I'm playing. And I'm like, well, you know what? My PC can actually run it, and I could pack a controller and be done with it. And then I could also output that to my TV, and I could put it in big picture mode, and I could just move the tower out there. And it's like, I could do all these things to make the PC be the only thing, but I'm already so anchored both in nostalgia and trophies and digital libraries and this community that I love that I'm like, well, no. I'm going to stick with PlayStation because that's like what I am. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, PC has all the parts. And I really thought that Valve was going to come in and be like, boom, Steam Machine. There's one. This is how it works, and it's going to your home, and it's going to be there, and you don't need anything else. You never need it. I mean, like, you don't need another gaming machine. You know what I mean? Like, we've made it simple finally. PC gaming is simple, and this will run the games that are important right now. And instead, they were like, hey, fuck it, everybody can make a Steam machine. And there's 14 versions, and they range from $100 to $15,000.
They dropped the ball, and I think that they dropped the ball because they never really wanted the ball in their hands to begin with.
They had no interest in being hardware.
I just don't think they care.
Which I get, but it's just no one came along to be like, we get hardware and we want to be in that hardware business and we can sell this to you.
They couldn't because unless they were endorsed by Steam in some official way. I think this all brings up just an interesting point that conventional wisdom in gaming, and I've been wrong many times about the things that I've said before in the past, of course, too. But conventional wisdom about the ebbs and flows of gaming have just been totally fucking wrong for years.
Right.
PC gaming was fucking dead as fucking the day is long. In 2007, 2008, 2009, like that was just that was a huge.
They were
joke.
getting bad ports and nothing.
And it was like
no support.
And the consoles were going to die because mobile gaming was going to take over and stuff like that, and the Minecraft generation is going to ruin the ability to buy and manufacture AAA games. Now, there's all sorts of
shifts.
Yeah, there are massive shifts. I mean, AAA space is shrinking, and there's no middle space anymore, but there's a vibrant indie space, which you claim, and I think rightfully so, might have been incubated somewhat on phones. I still think that we just don't know what's going to happen. All I know is how I want to play and experience games.
Yeah.
And I feel like everyone looked at these phones and tablets as just gaming machines for a lot of people, and I'm like, they're not. They're app machines. Yeah. And there's a huge difference between an app and a game. It's not to say you can't play and enjoy and make good games on these things. It's just to say these are not the be all end all platforms. And I didn't mean to go on this huge rant about
this is fun. This is a great
mobile
podcast.
Gaming, but it is.
Tim's not here to be a fuckwad as usual and fuck it all up.
Sure.
Pokemon.
But to me, it's just like, so like I just don't look at these platforms as something that I give a shit about, and like I'll be shocked if I ever do.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying, like I always have I have my iPhone in my pocket now. I have my tablet and all those things, but and even when these touch games come to something like Vita, it's like I'll play some of these games. Like I played that game Nun Attack and there's
Men's Room Mayhem.
Men's Room Mayhem and stuff like that. And I'm like,
did you ever play Jetpack Joyride on PS4?
Yeah, well I did a Let's Play with it on with Tim, but it's like these aren't like these
60-hour experiences.
Yeah, and they're just like not even that good. I'm sorry, like
they're great time wasters.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, there's nothing inspired about an endless runner. Like even the genres we've been given by these things, are like, it's just like, what is this? Like what is the genre?
Now you love your Race to the Sun though.
I do like Race to the Sun, but Race to the Sun has a point. The Race to the Sun's not really an endless runner. I mean, it's thoughtful,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that I want some evidence that positive things are happening from these platforms that benefit games and gamers. And all I'm seeing is the benefit of the same fucking few companies like King putting out the same fucking games, claiming that everyone plays games because they play these games.
Sure.
And then that's projected on our industry.
The benefits are, just like they are on consoles, that there are indie people out there doing cool indie things. You know what I mean? That are doing games and mobile games in a way we would have never thought about. And like, again, few and far between. I understand what we're saying.
Yeah, and they should go somewhere where people are going to notice.
Agreed with that.
And I'm not saying that's PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo. I'm saying that's probably PC.
I think most end up there too.
Yeah.
And then years later get ported to PlayStation 4.
Anyway, I probably pissed some people off with my mobile gaming rant. Although probably not.
They're not watching this. No one there are no. I mean, I don't even know mobile defenders. The people who used to cover mobile stuff for us. I don't know them to come out of the woodwork and argue with us about any of the points they've made and how the history's gone.
It's just a shame because I do believe in a level of platform agnosticism, where it's like if a good game comes to a platform, you should probably play it if you're interested in it.
Yeah.
That was an example. Gears was always an example of that with me on Xbox, or obviously a lot of Nintendo first party stuff. When I played Gone Home on PC, or I really fell in love with Civilization 5. There's a common theme between those games. They can't be played on a phone or a tablet. And there's another common theme between all of the platform agnosticism is that I can't imagine being excited about anything on that platform.
Sure.
I hope someone proves me wrong one day.
Yeah.
But when people were talking about like Monument Valley and all these games, I'm like, whatever. Whatever. I'm not, and that's not a casting a pall on that game specifically or that studio. I don't know anything about that game. I don't know anything about the studio. I'm just like,
it was good enough for Francis Underwood.
Based on how many times I was burned and have been witnessed other people get burned on these platforms where they just want to play. It's like that's just turned me off the experience. It's like to say we were talking about with PlayStation Network in the last segment. If you had really bad experiences with PlayStation over and over and over again, would you really give a fuck if anyone said that there was a good game on PS4 you should play?
No,
Probably
exactly not. Yeah, and that's where it comes with the PC thing, where the drivers and the problems I've had.
Which is a real problem. I hate when people deflect that because that is a real problem.
And it happens to me every time I try to use a game.
Not
anymore, but back in the day.
Well, Steam has kind of unified things and made things easier, and I think Steam is so very impressive. Like I think when I fuck around on Steam, there's only a few games I play on Steam, but and very few and far between because we're just so busy with other things, but always very impressed with that platform.
Yeah.
They can learn.
That's why I wanted them to win. I wanted them to Steambox to be awesome and be the reason where I would go, fuck, maybe I will unplug everything and just use this.
Yeah, but it wasn't to be. Valve is so weird. They're a weird company.
Yeah.
We can spend a whole, because I don't know a great deal about them. One of the things I wanted to do when I was at IGN, when I was still writing my History of series, was I was looking into in a very preliminary way with just me and kind of talking to some people about doing the history of Valve, and it was I wanted to do it because I thought it would done really well. I wanted to do it because I was also really fucking curious about it myself.
Oh yeah, learn a lot about it.
And even if I could have just gone there for a week and talked to them and not written anything, I would have done it. But
sure.
Yeah, they're very insular and they just seem like they don't really care. And I don't mean that in an apathetic way either. I just think that they're like, our product's good and we don't really need to do anything else.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about what people.
We don't need to make games and we don't need to. Yeah. It's like this thing with Half-Life 3. It's like I think Half-Life 3 will happen, but I think that that's not a priority to them.
Yeah.
That unlike everything else they do, it's not going to lose money. But when they look at development costs and all these kinds of things, they're like, this is an investment we don't have to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I digress.
All right, I hear you on that.
I still have no idea how the fuck we started on that conversation.
Gaming omissions.
I hope it was enjoyable.
I mentioned Super Mario and you went off. It was just crazy. Nobody understood it.